not really lifting him or doing anything other than just having my hand here, and if one of his legs happened to like give out, I would be able to hold him.
Mm-hmm.
The doctor said, you know, your heart stopped 3 times, your liver's a mess, you got the pancreatitis, your left kidney's dying. If you drink again, you will die.
Today on Sobriety Uncensored podcast, I'm talking with Andrew. Andrew went from hiding bourbon in his Yeti cup to drinking a bottle a day until his body finally gave out. He woke up in the hospital with tubes coming out of his abdomen and neck, battling cirrhosis, chronic pancreatitis, and even kidney failure. But in that moment, he made a promise to his wife and kids that he wasn't going to drink again. Today, he's rebuilding his life with faith, family, and new passions, and he's here to share how he turned rock bottom into a second chance. And I'm so happy that he reached out to me. Thank you, Andrew, for doing this with me. I'm so excited.
Well, thank you, Megan, for having me. I've been watching your show, and I appreciate it and what you do. I generally just, I think getting in touch with people with this problem is important, but it's also hard because a lot of people they won't admit a problem or they won't acknowledge it. And I didn't for 20 years. You know, I just pushed through and said, I'm fine.
I think stories like yours and then seeing those pictures that you emailed me, I was like, oh man. And it is true. You don't know, like drinking doesn't give you that white flag. When your liver is done,
it's full go. You're in it.
Yeah.
You know, your body's screaming, saying stop, and you ignore it and you push it back. And I had too many of those moments where I just back of my head saying, you can't keep doing this. But I'd pour my drink, move along, and continue my day.
Can you take us back to what drinking looked like for you on a daily basis?
Well, you know, obviously I live in Louisiana. There's a drinking culture. You know, it's just what you go to anybody's house. Hey, have a drink, you know, sit down, have a drink, go tailgating, you know, all that stuff. And I did that. And I was in control until I wasn't. I don't know. Towards the end, it was a bottle of bourbon a day, you know, full bottle, easy. You know, if I got to the end of the day and that bottle was empty, I'd go hit the drive-through daiquiri stand and bring home a double shot daiquiri, get me through the night, and then start over again the next day. You know, if I couldn't find a small bottle, I'd buy a handle. I'd get a 1.75 liter, and that would get me through a couple or 3 days. But I rotated constantly, and I had my spots. I'd put stuff up high where my wife, who was short, couldn't find stuff. Hide stuff in the garage or my closet. And before I left the house, I always had something in my cup. I always mixed it with something or just drank it straight and get me to lunchtime. And I'd find a restaurant where I could sit at a bar, and I knew the bartenders and they knew what I liked. And I'd drink that, get me till I get home, and then start again.
How many years was it to this extent?
10, at least.
10 years.
Before that, it was, you know, I would come home from work and drink until I went to bed. And that all started probably, I don't know, 2010. But it took off. I was sober for a year or 9 months. In 2015, my wife and I decided to go on a diet. We both needed to lose some weight. And part of the deal was I couldn't drink. So I didn't. And I lost about 40 or 50 pounds. But I didn't mentally, in my brain was like, no, it's not the drinking. It was the food, right? Surely the drinking had nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
So 2016, I've started drinking again, and our house flooded. There was a big flood here in Louisiana. Our house got hit. We got stuck in a trailer. We got friends, family to let us shack up at their places while our house was being torn apart and fixed up again. And during that time, the stress of it and pressure, I turned to drinking heavier. I, there's no excuse for it. It was just, I don't know, coping mechanism maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But all that weight I had lost came right back and then kept coming up. And then COVID hit and I was almost 300 pounds. I was 280 something pounds. But yeah, it was a lot. Yeah, the COVID. And then I was at home. I was isolated. So access was easy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I could have my hiding spots and I knew the tricks. I could, time things out. So, oh, my wife's taking her time doing this. She's in the other room. I can go refill my drink, come back, nothing happened, and drink all day.
So she had no idea how bad your drinking
He
was?
had suspicions. And she would say, you need to slow down drinking. I said, yeah, I know. But I didn't change.
Right.
I wasn't about to change. Mentally, I couldn't wrap my head around that whole idea of changing. I was so deep. It was just, there was no letting go. If I stopped, the tremors in my hands, I couldn't fill out a piece of paper. I couldn't, if I went to a work meeting and you had to sign in, I would just scribble. I couldn't write my name. I didn't go to the doctor because I couldn't fill out the admission or the questionnaires. I wanted to avoid all that because if I accepted that meant I had a problem. So I just avoid it.
Right.
Then there's nothing wrong, right?
Right.
Everything's
Avoidance.
fine.
I think that's the big word in with alcohol related cases is we avoid. We're definitely
We don't want to admit it.
avoiders. Yep.
Yeah.
Even, when all the flags are being thrown at us and we're hiding it.
Yeah.
I mean, you found the perfect system around hiding it from your wife and everybody else. Just, but those shakes, did other people notice the shakes when you wouldn't drink?
I would just say that it was a thing. It was, oh yeah, I get like this sometimes. It was never, I need a drink. It was, oh, it's fine. Yeah, this happens. It, it was.
Did you know, or at the time, did you think you had it under control, or did you know it was a problem?
I'm fine.
Okay.
I'd go tailgating for football games and I'd drink all day.
Yeah.
And then, if I went to go play the cornhole or beanbags or whatever game and I'd throw the bag and if my shot was way off, I was like, oh, I need to have a drink.
Mm-hmm.
I can't throw it straight. So I'd have a few drinks and do that the rest of the day. And I'd use the game time as my sober up time and then drive home. It was
your quote
it
sober
was, it
up
was
time.
incredibly irresponsible, dangerous, and stupid. Like I should not have been on the road. And I'd bring my kids. They'd come with me to the game and hang out all day, play with the friends, and then I'd drive them home.
Yeah.
And then I'd just, I'd talk to my dad in the car on the way home. He's just like, get home, call me when you get there.
Unfortunately, I think a lot of parents are in denial about drinking and driving with children in the car.
It's a very big problem.
And then people come on the comments and they attack those that drink and drive with their children, but they don't realize probably 99% of the people have driven buzzed or drunk with their child.
Or something.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not to that extent. I wasn't swerving. I kept a steady drive, but I shouldn't have been driving. Absolutely not.
But you didn't realize it at the time.
No, I'm fine.
I drive better when I'm
It's
drunk.
that, I mean, the alcoholic denial is incredibly powerful.
It
Your
is.
brain is so hungry. Your body is so hungry for more alcohol. It needs it to fuel everything. It just and it will do or tell you whatever it needs to get it. I would have those moments where it's like, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep doing this as I pour more bourbon. I can't
Yeah.
keep, but here I am doing it.
Yeah. Not today. Not today. Oh, oops. There goes a
Yeah,
fifth.
I'll start next week.
Exactly. Start on Monday. Start next month. Start
Never
next
do.
year. You mentioned filling your Yeti cup in the morning and hiding bottles. What did those strategies look like day to day?
Um, I had usually I would have 2 bottles on the highest shelf in the pantry, and I'd stack them up front to back so you couldn't see the one in the back if you were short. And I would just rotate those, come in the morning, my wife's getting ready and kids are off to school, so I'd come out, fill my Yeti cup about halfway, and then cut the other half with orange juice or something, and that would get me to lunch. And then lunch, I would either, if I was COVID and I was home, I would sneak off, refill, start over, and then just continue. There was always a drink in my hand, always.
Yeah.
If I was in the office, it was a little bit tougher. I'd be out in the morning after I was done finishing that cup, so I'd have to get something to drink at lunch, but I wouldn't bring it to the office. I never did that,
Yeah.
but I sure as hell wanted to get a drink when I got home.
Here's a interesting question for you. Do you think you were trying to hide it from others or more from yourself?
Um, because I was so convinced that I was in control. I had my system, it was working. I I was hiding it from them. Because I knew what I was doing. You know, I'm not I'm not pleading innocence in any of this. I did this. This was my fault, but I was trying to hide it from the kids, my wife, and then outward appearances. Everything was great. You
Right.
know, go to neighbors' parties and always have a great time. I was never the fall down drunk. I was steady, but I was always drinking. I never passed out, never threw up at parties. I was just I had my rhythm to where I knew when I was going to slow down, but I wasn't stopping. I would slow
Yeah.
down, but I never stopped. But I'd wake up and I either drank or I'd have really bad diarrhea.
Mhm.
Just my bowel movements were really bad. And that would go throughout the day, but that I would chalk that up to something else,
I ate something
make
bad.
an excuse. Yeah, there's always an excuse.
You weren't a sloppy drunk. So the people that I talk to are either the morning, rise to, morning to night drinkers, or there's those of us that are the blackout binge type drinking. And it doesn't sound like you were that type of drinker at all. You were just, I'm going to function all day long on alcohol.
Yeah, the last time I was blackout drunk was college, you know, but for the most part, it was always just a steady stream. Probably starting in my early 30s. In my 20s, it was I drink I drink beer with a little bit of Jameson or whiskey during the week, and then it shifted from mostly beer and whiskey to mostly whiskey, then beer, then no beer, and then I switched to bourbon, and then it was just bourbon. I loved bourbon. I'd buy something new came out, I'd try everything. Then that was getting too expensive because bourbon prices aren't great. So I'd buy the whatever cheapest, most palatable thing I could find, and I'd just keep rotating that. I think Evan Williams bourbon with the white label was my go-to. It was
Okay.
under $20 and it was easy to get. So that was for years. That's what I would drink.
Yeah. I know during COVID there was a Jameson shortage. I mean, I
I
was a
believe
Jameson drinker and I'd
I
go
was for a
get
long
a
time.
bottle and they're like, "Oh, we're out. It's stuck on the ocean somewhere." And so then when it would come in, I would buy several bottles because heaven
Hmm.
forbid I run out.
Yeah, no, you can't be out of it.
No,
No, you got to plan ahead.
exactly. Oh my gosh. I like there so many people like the comparison game of, well, you didn't have a problem, or you were just this type of drinker. But I think from everything that I've read and everybody that I've talked to, I don't think the functioning all day drinker is any worse or better than the one that binges. I feel like we drink the same amount. It's just in
Yeah, it's,
like the time frame that we drink it.
I think the all day in some ways is worse just because there's no rest.
Right.
There's no downtime for your body. Just breathe just to tap out and say, just give me a break.
Yeah.
All day is just, it's just brutal on your body. It's just screaming for help. It's screaming
Yeah.
and you just ignore it. It's just,
True. Or those of us that don't drink all day and then binge until we pass out every single day. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's all just people don't realize when you have a problem with alcohol, you have to realize what you're doing to your body, and you are the definition of what happens to your body when you drink too much. What happened in September 2021 that really became the turning point for you?
so this is where my wife comes in handy. I don't remember. I lost probably August, September, October. I don't remember anything until sometime in mid-November.
Okay.
It's just gone. We had a hurricane come through in early September, Hurricane Ida, I think. Right before that hit, I woke up, and this is from my wife. I woke up screaming in pain, just brutal, uncontrollable screaming. I could barely communicate. My body was just dying. I was just screaming. I went to the ER. She drove me there. They gave me some steroids, sent me home. And the next morning, same thing. And then I was finally admitted. So that anniversary, that'll be 4 years coming up in about 2.5, 3 weeks. So they admit me, but they tell my wife what's going on. Your husband's, he's got pancreatitis. It was acute at that point. Now it's chronic. Pancreatitis, I didn't have cirrhosis yet. My liver wasn't great, but it wasn't cirrhosis level. But they put me into a medically induced coma for my body to detox. So they didn't think I would survive. I wasn't going to survive if I was awake. And even while I was in the coma, my heart stopped 3 times. My wife was in the room for one of the occasions where everything stopped. I coded, just terrifying. And of course, I don't know any of this. No memory of it. But while I was in that coma, I was having these incredibly vivid hallucinations or dreams. One involved me. I was in some sort of hospital. It was near the campus where I worked and where I went to college. My friends and family were there trying to reach me, but I couldn't get to them. But everyone was very scared, and I didn't know why. Things like that. I had another one where I was in my hometown where I grew up in New Jersey, and my friend Mike, one of my best friends growing up, was missing, and we thought there had been an accident. Was it a car accident? Was it somebody's hurt? Something bad happened. We don't know what. And that went on for weeks. I I think I was hallucinating that I would be maybe in a post-op, and that, in the hospital, you go through your post-op, you're sitting in a room with all these other patients sitting around you, and there's a nursing station, and they kind of just go around checking everybody. But I was seeing that, but it was very dark, and the nurses, they had no faces. I couldn't see their faces. I could hear just murmuring kind of in the background, talking about me, but I couldn't understand anything. So I don't know if that was just hallucinating. I don't know if it was a dream. Um, but it was more of my mind just going, you need to pay attention.
Yeah.
You've done something. Something bad has happened. And, this is your warning. This is, get your stuff together. And I woke up one day. Uh, I woke up, my wife was there. She was holding my hand, and I looked at her. I could barely speak. I was too weak. She said, "You can never drink again." I said, "I know." I said, "I can't." My doctor said the same thing, but I was more focused on her at that point. I was like, I can't, and I won't. And I haven't. So that'll be 4 years in September.
Wow.
That was, I don't remember the last time I have a drink. I drank. I know I did. I know I did in that gap of time that I lost. I know I was drinking. I don't know how much. I couldn't say.
So you don't remember anything from those months?
Those 2.5, 3 months? No.
Did the doctors say anything about that?
Um, they, at one point I had developed diabetes, I think. And they have these holes in my neck from where they had tubes going in, and they were just trying to pump me full to get all this poison out of my body and get just these fluids in. The primary concern has been, and continues to be, is the pancreatitis.
Pancreatitis.
The pancreatitis causes abscesses. The abscesses cause infections, and these infections are constantly changing. That's why I'm on antibiotics twice a day through the injection on my neck here, or my chest. They use PICC lines to push the medicine in, and it's basically a plug in the dam, because it's only going to work for so long. So, we talked to I have an infectious disease doctor who we talk to regularly. He keeps track of all my lab work, and he says, we'll just use it till it doesn't work anymore, and then we'll have to find something else and do that. Outside of surgery, which there's so much damage down in my abdomen from all the scar tissue, that finding a surgeon who's willing to go in there and do the work is hard. I actually have an appointment tomorrow she's an oncology surgeon, who they're referring me to because the surgery is so complex. They think that she might be willing to look into doing it, which would be a blessing. If she's willing to go in and take that risk for me, and if they could get rid of those abscesses, then my quality of life, let alone saving my life, because these infections have almost killed me before. So I'm very hopeful that this meeting goes well with her tomorrow. But no, the doctor said, your heart stopped 3 times, your liver's a mess, you got the pancreatitis, your left kidney's dying. If you drink again, you will die. Like, there's no doubt in their minds that I would not survive another bout of that, or another fight like that. Because this is what it was. It was 6 months in the hospital, a fight. I went from 285 pounds to 125 by the time I got out, laying in a hospital bed, unable to move or get out of bed for 3 months destroys any physical capabilities you have. I lost a lot of fat, but I lost just as much muscle.
Yeah.
I couldn't lift my leg up. When I first woke up, I could barely wiggle my toes. Lifting my arms was difficult. I couldn't walk. I had to go to physical therapy after I was healthy enough and stable enough to get out of the hospital. I was in a rehab center, and they would have to put straps around me, like under my legs and under my back, and hoist me out of bed and put me in a chair because I couldn't do it. I couldn't brush my teeth. I couldn't comb my hair. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't take a shower. I had the bedside baths where they just come and scrub you down. I had those for God knows how long. It was just everything that went wrong went wrong.
Right.
And, there was a lot of time to think and reflect, pray, regret.
The shame that comes with all of it is, I mean,
thinking
hard.
I didn't know if my next day was it. Was this the last time I'm going to see my kids? Will I see my kids again? My parents, my brother and sister. My brother came down while I was in a coma and helped my wife with cleaning up and stuff after the hurricane. And I don't remember it. He came to see me in the hospital. I know he did, but I don't remember.
Was all this done while you were in the coma?
Yes. I had one on my right side, but that one healed up enough to where they took it out. But so when I woke up, I still had, and these aren't like itty bitty, like you're getting an injection tube. These are thick, 3/4 of an inch tubing coming out of my left abdomen. And I still have open wounds from them that will probably never go away. But these tubes would come out and they would run along the bed, and there would be a canister up on the wall next to me where it would suck out whatever was my body was producing. And it would just be brown with maybe a little bit of red in there, sludge. It was just, the abscesses were just pumping out this poison. So my body was trying to recover, and the only way it could get out was through the holes in these tubes. So that it was like that for a long time. For basically the entire time I was in the hospital, I had those. And then when I got out, they swapped those tubes for some smaller ones, but they were still there. And those tubes had little bulbs, you'd squeeze them to cause suction, and they would slowly fill up. And I'd go to the bathroom and have to empty them out, and then squeeze them down again to make them create the suction, put in my pocket, and it was part of my daily lifestyle for a year.
Wow.
And then they got the holes. They're called fistulas. They are wounds that the body creates to allow some sort of infected or fluid that doesn't belong there. It allows it to get out. And they don't heal unless it's all gone. I've had them, I call the upper and the lower. They've healed twice. Like really like closed up to the point where I thought like, I'm good. They're gone. And then within a week or two, I can feel them start swelling and bulging, and they get painful. And I got to go to the doctor, and we lance it, and it opens back up, and it's very painful. And then the fluid comes out. Whatever's there will come out. Sometimes it's not a lot. Sometimes it's almost nothing, but something always comes out. It's just a little reminder of what I did and why I'm here. I had to wear Crohn's disease, a lot of times they have the ostomy bags to catch the fecal matter or
Yeah.
whatever it needs to catch. I would wear those. I had to put two of them, kind of piggyback them on my side to catch all this poison coming out. And thankfully, I don't have to wear those anymore or use those because they are incredibly invasive. They cause a lot of problems and they don't work half the time. So I've healed enough to where I can get by with just some gauze and some tape to keep that area covered.
So, cirrhosis, chronic pancreatitis, and abscesses, daily antibiotic infusions, left kidney is at 15 to 20%
Somewhere
viability,
around there. Yeah, that was it last year. It was at 15 to 20.
and neurological damage.
Yes, I have a neurologist, Dr. Zapata, and all this, especially the malnutrition. The malnutrition at the point when I first went to the hospital, and then just being in the hospital where it's just so hard to hospital food. It's so hard to stay get good nutrition while you're just stuck there and the food they give you. But you try, but I would have trouble. I couldn't keep my left hand steady. And it wasn't a drinking thing. It was a totally different feeling, but I'd be typing and my hand would just shake to the point where it just came off the keyboard and I'd just have to type one-handed with my right hand. I was having really bad memory issues, but it's all linked to the abuse I put my body through. I take medicine, lacosamide now to help with my memory and reduce the tremors. So we're kind of working on the dosages for that, get me leveled out right, but that'll probably be a lifelong thing. But at least my memory's not, when I first got out, I couldn't remember anything. If I was still working, I was working on a laptop from my recliner, which I lived in for 2 years. So I'd gotten home from the hospital finally, and I started working again. I'm a graphic designer, been doing that for 20 years. And I worked for the university here, and I wanted to keep working. So I got a laptop and I started doing my stuff from home. And by that point, my job had changed so much and I was miserable. But they let me work there for another 2 years until they had to let me go. I took the disability retirement, and because I couldn't drive to work, I couldn't sit in a work environment. 2 years ago, I couldn't sit in this chair. My back was so torn up from being in the hospital bed so long that 15 minutes is about my max in a chair at that point. I've gotten a lot better, but at that point, if I wanted to go see a movie with my kids, I couldn't go. I couldn't sit in a movie chair, or I couldn't go out to eat. Everything was bring home, so Andrew can eat it. Family events, Christmases, Thanksgiving, I was home. I couldn't go. I couldn't sit for an hour in a car to go drive somewhere. So that was just the first hospital stay.
The first hospital stay.
Yeah. So that hospital stay, that was 2021, September 2021. I get out of that hospital in around Christmas time, and I go to rehab, the physical therapy, go through 2.5 months physical therapy to be able to walk again and get home. And I was home for, I don't know, a year and a half until 2023 around Christmas time. And I had noticed there was going to be a problem. I had started swelling up in my feet, in my ankles, my belly. My belly button was kind of starting to stick out a little bit. So that's one of the signs of the liver. When the liver's damaged like that, it produces a fluid called ascites. So this ascites was building up throughout my body, and those are the main areas it goes to. So I would go in to get my oil changed, as I call it, because they would lay me on my side and put a big old needle in there and just pull out just liters and just pump it out and put it into bags. And I think the most I saw them pull out was 8.5 to 10 liters of this fluid, 30 pounds, 30 pounds of fluid
Wow.
just building up and sitting there in my body. Now, thankfully, that hasn't happened in about a year. My liver's recovered enough to where I haven't had to worry about that. But that Christmas of 23, it was almost my birthday, December 16th, and I went to go stand up, and I almost fell right over. Like, I had been able to walk regularly, no assistance at that point. But that day I stood up and I leaned forward. I was like, we need to go. We got an ambulance. They brought me to Baton Rouge General, and I was there for probably about 5 or 7 days when their doctors were, and I say this, I love my team of doctors at the General. They were great. I still talk to them now just to catch up. But they were wise enough to say, this is too much. We can't take this on, and he's going to die if he stays here.
Wow.
So they passed me off to a hospital group called Ochsner out of New Orleans, and they raced me from Baton Rouge to New Orleans. This is one of those times when I start to get fuzzy. They transferred me to Ochsner, and I started having really bad neurological issues. And they had me evaluated for all kinds of recognition tests, find the dot, where is it moving, and pointing to a screen, things like that. I spent New Year's with my dad in the hospital room watching fireworks over the Mississippi River. And once again, I missed another holiday with my family. I was stuck in a room. I missed everything. That's all I could think about. It was like, I missed 4 years. I missed the entire high school for my oldest son. Like, I couldn't go to anything. I wasn't there. And that's the regret and the shame, is, what were you doing?
Right.
Look what you did to here.
I like that you say, look what you did here. Like, you're not blaming other people.
No.
You're taking full accountability of your drinking. You're not saying, well, it's you, like a
No,
lot of people do.
No, a lot of people like to say, well, they were drinking, so I wanted to drink too. Or, it's just a little bit. It's not that much. It's so easy to say that.
Yeah.
But I know what I did, and I know why. Sometimes I don't know why, but I know. There's a history in my family. I've got uncles who have alcohol problems, and they've gone through, AA and the therapy and stuff, and they've been dry for 20, 30 years. But there's a history. I have a grandmother who was a bad alcoholic.
Wow.
My parents says, hey, remember your Uncle Claude, remember Uncle Tom, and I'd be like, yeah, I know. I'm not them.
I'm not
them. I got it under control. It all comes back to that. I have it under control. You don't. You're spiraling. And that's how you end up in a hospital for 6 months.
And you had to learn to re-walk.
Yeah, no.
I mean, that's just how bad alcohol can take you down to, besides death.
Breathe. Yeah, besides, I was a hair's breadth away from dying. My doctor, my surgeon, my general surgeon, he still says, he's like, you shouldn't be here. It's like, the fact that you survived that hospital stay and you're here today, it's like, they don't make that. That doesn't happen. My brother, when he was up in New Jersey before he came to see me, he's in medical sales. he talked to a doctor friend of his, and he explained what they had told my brother. He says, "You need to go see him right now." It's like, immediately. Pack your bags and go, because people don't survive this, to this level. So I don't know how I managed. I thank God. I thank my family, and I mean, most of all, I thank my wife. She's my light. She's my cornerstone, and thank God she didn't leave me.
Right.
She was on the verge. She was fed up. She was done with it. All the bullshit, the lying. She told me, she's like, I was gonna leave you. A few weeks before I got sick, she was already figuring out how she was gonna do it. She was done with it, and she couldn't take it anymore. And I didn't blame her. I was like,
Right.
and that's when you'd have thoughts like, I should just die here in the hospital. It'd be so much easier. If I wasn't here, they could move on, and I'd stop being a burden, because, I'm not producing anything. I'm not working. I'm not this. I'm not that. And just all that stuff starts to creep in at 3 o'clock in the morning when you're getting poked with needles because they need to check your blood every 3 hours. So a lot of time to get some not so healthy thoughts while you're also trying to recover. It's a lot of talks with the nurses and strangers who are they're kind of like priests. You need to just have a little confession time and just talk to somebody who isn't going to judge you and talk down on you, and they just listen. And, they have 1,000 other patients, and they're going to move on to the next patient and handle their thing. And, maybe they'll remember a little bit, but at that point, I just needed somebody to hear something, because it's stuff I'd never talked about with anybody. For 20 years, I didn't talk about it with friends or family. Everything was hidden.
Secret life.
Yeah, no. They had some great physical therapists who unfortunately, I've had to see them more than once. So after I relearned to walk and everything, and fought to be somewhat productive and helpful, 2023 rolls around. I'm back in the hospital. They send me to Ochsner, and then Ochsner sends me to another rehab facility. And I spent another 2 months there. My wife and son go to Spain for a school trip. I miss that. They went to Universal Studios. I missed that. Sitting in a hospital bed. So I missed all these moments, just moments with my kids and my wife. I'm finally able now I can do a short jog,
Wow.
like really short. I can walk around the neighborhood. I can drive again. There's getting down on the ground and getting back up is a chore, kind of painful. I've got back issues, but that could be anything. Just age. It's so hard.
Yeah. I mean, and just to know that we caused our own pain and suffering. Nobody held anything to our head, said drink,
No,
even though maybe
I did it. Yeah,
some of
I
us didn't
regret
know any
doing it.
better. Yeah.
Yeah, and I knew what I was doing, and but there's that voice in your head. It's just like, hey, you're fine. You've got this, right? I was working. I was getting paid. I was providing.
Your marriage was together.
Yeah.
Your kids were healthy and
My
happy.
kids were good. I have two amazing boys. One's my oldest. His first day of college was yesterday. He got early college, so he didn't go to high school. He went to early college options. So he was taking college courses as a freshman in high school. So he did that and graduated with flying colors. But I missed all of it. I got to go to his graduation. Or his 2 graduations. But so that was being able to actually get there and sit in those bleachers and not have to leave because I was in so much pain was great. I didn't expect it. I fully expected. I'm like, I'm I'm going to get through like 20 minutes of this and my back's going to be screaming and I'm going to have to go out to the car, and I'm going to miss it. And I start talking to myself in my head, like, you're going to screw it up. You're going to miss it again. You know, I, I really need to get a therapist. My wife has been like, you need to get therapy. I'm like, I know, but I'm stubborn.
I think, I mean, okay, I might get hate for saying this, but a lot of the men that I know like refuse therapy, and all the women I know are all in therapy. So I don't
Yes.
know if it's just a
It's a
thing.
male, tough guy, macho, whatever you want to call it. It's stubbornness, but it's not enough men seek help or admit that they even want to look at getting help. Just admitting is hard.
Yeah,
Because
it's
admitting
a
means
pride
it's
thing,
real. Admitting means it's real.
right?
You-
You woke up in that hospital bed, and your wife and your doctor said pretty much you have to quit drinking, or you're gonna die. But your wife saying it hit home way
it-
harder. Going from extreme alcoholism to I can't drink anymore. What did life look like for a while?
I had my first few months home from physical therapy and all that. I essentially lived in a recliner in the office or in my living room where all my medical supplies were. So I had a table of, pills and gauze, bandages, all the supplies I needed if my side popped a leak. If it started leaking during the middle of the night and I had pus and all this nastiness pouring out, I had to be able to access it. So I, I still don't sleep in my bed, but I slept in that recliner for 2 years. And I also have developed really bad sleeping habits from being in the hospital because they say go to bed and then you're getting somebody poking you with a needle every 2 hours, which they had to do for my blood work because of the infections. So I had no rest. I'd get maybe 2.5 hours of sleep a night, and that was broken up into like 30-minute sections. And it stayed like that when I got home. So I would be unable to fall asleep, and then all I could do was think the worst things. I'd think about my funeral. I'd think about
Mhm.
what I wanted people to say or who I wanted there. I thought about uh, some of my, uh, how do I put this, family related relationship issues that have been bugging me for forever. And I wanted to try and fix, but it's not my place to. Just all this stuff that I couldn't control. You know, I'd think I've had suicidal thoughts. Uh, it would be so much easier if I just wasn't here.
Yeah.
But then I think about my wife and I think about my kids and I think, you've made it this far. You're here and you're not in that hospital bed anymore. So put up or shut the hell up. Just do something.
Yeah.
You've been given a gift. This is truly a gift. The fact that I'm here with you talking and all these people is a miracle. And I need to acknowledge that and make the best of it. So that's why I'm here today. You know, I've reached out or made myself open to friends and acquaintances. I say, here's what happened to me. Here's my story. If you think you would like to talk about something, message me, call me, email me. I will give you all the gory details. I will probably tell you more than you want to know. If you think could be a problem, there probably is. Listen to your body. Listen to your brain. Your brain is screaming at you, saying, help. Just help me.
Yeah.
Something's wrong. You know it's there. You can hear it.
Mm-hmm.
I can still hear it. But you have to be willing to listen. And for years, I didn't listen. I didn't trust it. I didn't trust what I was hearing.
You didn't go to AA or any groups. You just
No, I did a lot of soul searching and prayer, meditation.
Mindful.
I talked to a lot of friends who have alcohol issues, who have gone through AA and recovery, and I've gotten a lot of connections through them, but I have not gone to AA, and I haven't gone to an alcohol related group session of any kind. But I think as I get used to more stuff like this, I could probably feel more comfortable in that setting.
Yeah. But I think just sharing your story to family and friends and to this community is a huge
That's the
thing.
goal. That's the goal.
Because I think I love being able to share people's stories because maybe I'm not resonating with somebody, but they want to keep watching my guests, and maybe you're the one that finally hits that
Yeah.
person, right? And they're like, oh my gosh, this is a wake-up call. And
Yeah.
it's hard. I mean, I'm assuming medically you cannot drink, so you probably have zero desire to drink, and
No.
I'm assuming the urges and cravings are just not there either.
The urges, I wouldn't say urges. I didn't have any urges. There was in the really bad nights when it's 3 a.m. and I can't sleep and that's all I can think about. There is the thought of just get up, but I couldn't get up. I couldn't even I couldn't get to the pantry, like not by myself. But I knew where the bottles would be. If there were still any in there, I knew where they would be. But
Did your
no,
wife not throw those away
she got rid of most stuff. Yeah.
that she could find?
Yeah. No, she has a little bit that she keeps out. Probably because she knows she can keep an eye on it if it's out. You know,
Right.
if it's not in one of my spots where she can't see it, then she can at least keep tabs on it. But I haven't touched it. I refuse to.
You play that tape forward. You don't want to be back on
No,
that deathbed.
no, I know how that story ends. I know the ending. I've been there. I got the to be continued part. That's where I'm at right now.
So what does life look like? I mean, we painted the picture of you physically and mentally, but what about your relationships? How have those
My
gotten better?
my wife and our relationship is better. More attentive. I'm more quick to help, or more available. You know, when I was really drinking, it was my back hurts. I can't right now. My stomach's a mess. I can't do it because of this or that. I'll do it tomorrow. And now I just do it. It's, you know, and I acknowledge that I'm not working right now. She's supporting our family. And I'm truly blessed that she has a job where she's happy and she makes enough to where if I'm not working, it's not easy. It's incredibly tight, but we can make it work for now. But that's where now I'm looking into what's next. You know, I was a graphic designer for 25 years. And at the end of my job at the university, my job was no longer graphic design. It had changed into something else, which was more about ADA compliance for visual stuff, which is a whole other field. And I was miserable. So when they said, it's kind of time for you to go, I said, okay. So right now I'm taking that time where I'm still healing and hopefully I can get this surgery done. And I'm looking into other options besides design. You know, I used to be very passionate about photography. I basically minored in photography in college, but I never did it as a job or to make money. So that would be something new and possibly exciting to go into. You know, I know photography isn't a money maker by any means.
Well, it can be. It can be.
Yes, if you're very good, yes. And so I'm kind of relearning all of that at the moment.
So would you say that's a passion that you've been able to kind of reconnect with since alcohol's not running the show?
Yeah. No, I did, graduation pictures for my boys. I go around the city here and find some. I really enjoy, I guess, street photography and run down broken places, kind of like me. uh,
They can be restored.
yeah, no, they are what they are. That's what you get. You know, I've been to some pretty shady areas of the neighborhoods, but I get those shots. I find my shots and I get out. But but I enjoy it. It gives me some energy and it raises my spirits
That's good.
when I can get out there and get that perfect shot.
Yeah.
So
And what
that's
about
what
your
go ahead.
what about your boys? What's your relationship like?
I have been, ever since I got home, one of the first things I did was made sure to sit them down, or I laid in my recliner and had them sit near me, and I taught them about what happened and why it happened, what I did, everything. I explained, like, you know, chances are when I was driving you to karate at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, I guarantee you there was something in that cup that it wasn't orange juice, or it wasn't totally orange juice. You know, I had to get something before I went out for the day. So I mean, it wasn't right, but I'm not going to deny that it happened. You know, and people will say, "Oh, how dare you?" Yeah, how dare I? I did it. I can't take it back. I can't erase it. Uh, Irresponsible, dangerous, stupid, whatever you want to call it. Um, it happened. But I'm close to them. Yes, and I didn't necessarily have a bad relationship before I went to the hospital. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't great as a father, but I was never abusive. I was never the walk around slamming doors and screaming out the top of my lungs. You know, I never raised a hand or any of that. It was just, I think I was so unhappy with my job and a lot of other aspects that I drank to self soothe,
Yeah.
to, you know, to get me through to tomorrow, and then I'll figure tomorrow out. But it all just, every day was the same.
Yeah.
Eventually, it wasn't going to change. By that, the hooks were too deep. I was too I was I was in too deep. There was no life preserver. There was uh, just drowning. That's what
Drowning.
it felt like.
Just trying to keep your head above water.
Just keep breathing. Just get to work, do my job, get home, get paid, go back to work,
Yeah.
go to my appointments, go to my functions. I was miserable. Looking back on it, I was just not I wasn't a happy person. I'm sure I wasn't great to be around. Even though I don't see it, thinking back on it, I'm sure like people on the outside looking in were like, "What's wrong with Andrew?" You know, but I had friends at work. We'd go drink at lunch. You know, I we would me and my best friend at work, we'd go to a local bar and restaurant right off campus, and we'd drink for 2 hours. You know, oh, it's Fall Fest on campus. Everyone's kind of doing whatever. Let's go to the bar, and we'll leave whenever. Call it a half day. You know,
Hmm.
it just, we knew all the bartenders. They knew what we drank, and my buddy would sometimes wind up sleeping under his desk at work.
Where's
And
that
then
buddy? Where's that buddy now?
he is working elsewhere. He is working. He has kind of had a wake up call of his own
Okay.
and done some major reevaluation. But he is in a good spot. I
So
think
like,
we both went down that path together.
okay.
So he was kind of my partner in crime for a few years. Um, but every day it was like, yep, I'll see you at the bar. Go get some food and my bourbon, and he'd get his.
So from everybody watching from the outside, seeing what happened to you, has it been a wake-up call for anyone around you?
I think so. I think there has to be at least two or three who have at least acknowledged maybe an issue on their own end. Maybe definitely not as severe as mine.
Right.
Like, I think very few have a severe case like I did and are still here.
But that
But
very few, that chronic pancreatitis, it's like alcohol is 40 to 70% the cause, and it happens in like 1 to 5 people. So you never know when you're going to be that one person.
yeah, no, it's brutal. I my liver has improved. Like, I have a liver specialist with Oshner, and she's like, technically, you probably don't have cirrhosis anymore. Like, your liver has healed and recovered enough to the point where your liver is not the problem. It's the pancreatitis. It's the constant infections. That's my danger right now. That's the major concern is at any time it can flare up and I can be back in the hospital for 2 weeks to 2 months, just depending on how bad it gets. So that's always in the corner of my mind. Like, when those fistulas start getting infected again and I can tell that something's coming, that's always my first thought is, how long is it going to be? Am I coming out of that hospital? Is this the time? Is this it? And I'm very lucky that it hasn't been, but it's there. And that's why I'm, knock on wood, I'll be talking to this surgeon tomorrow and cross my fingers. She says, I think you're a candidate and we can work with this and work her magic and pray that she can do her, she can get that stuff ripped out. I've got like three of those abscesses in my abdomen, and my radiologist last year did a scan, came back and said they have calcified, they have hardened, they will not heal. Outside of surgery, they are going nowhere. So they will keep causing infections as long as I'm around. So that's the constant, the IV injections that I do is all just to kind of put a barrier up and just hold back the water as long as we can until it spills over the banks. So that's my daily routine.
Do you
Wake up.
do you eat healthy? I mean, like,
I
so I know a
eat.
lot of people work out and eat healthy to repair their liver.
My major concern is sodium. Sodium is the biggest problem for me. So I cut out a lot of stuff I really like. It's South Louisiana.
Be hard.
Everything is tons of sodium. From crawfish boils to just the food in general. It's delicious. It's the most amazing food, and I can't have it. It is as an Italian Southerner, it is a nightmare.
I bet.
But I'm here and I work through it. I figure out foods that work for me. If I can't figure out what I'm going to have for dinner, or maybe we're eating something that's just too salty and I know I should stay away from it, I'll make an omelet. I'll do an omelet with some roast beef or some turkey. No ham. Ham's too salty. So
Yeah.
I find that there's tricks to get around, and I drink my Coke Zero. It's my go-to soda. I've just started dipping my toe into non-alcoholic beers. The first couple of times I tried it, I did not like it. It reminded me too much
Mm-hmm.
of bad habits,
Yep.
bad decisions. I might have one or two a day, generally around dinner time, and then one before, I can't sleep, so I'm up till like midnight or 1 o'clock. So I'll have one as I go to sleep, and but it's not bourbon, and I know non-alcoholic beer still has a slight trace
Some
of
don't.
alcohol.
There's
Some
some
don't,
don't.
but they still
But
card you
they do.
at the grocery store.
But
That's funny.
I mean, in comparison, back in the day, I used to say I don't drink the NAs because they still have alcohol in them. And then I had so many people come on and comment, well, this has alcohol in it, this has alcohol in it. And I mean, I still didn't touch it. It took me quite a while to dip into NA beers, but
Yeah. Yeah, I've
there's,
found like two or three that I don't mind.
yeah.
Something that, football season starts next week. So I can go to a tailgate, I can bring my NA beer, and it gives me something to cold in my hand throughout the day. And, it's just a comfort thing, I think.
Yes, I always tell my clients, I'm like, it's like have something in your hand. It's like a blankie. Because so many times when we would go to events, what did we have in our hand? A
Yeah.
beverage.
You gotta drink.
So as long as we have a replacement, we still have just as much fun, but it is that comfort. It is that
Yeah,
comfort
just
thing.
holding something like that and just, sip every now and then. And I know it's not alcohol, and I'm fine with that. And I don't
Yeah.
want it to be.
Yeah. Same.
But I like the ritual of the cold beverage. Maybe you got it in your little koozie or whatever, and
And then people mind their own business. They don't
yeah,
ask
yeah.
you, why
Why
are
aren't
you
you
even,
drinking?
yeah.
What's wrong?
What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
That's the best one.
What's wrong is that I'll die. If I drink that, there's a good
Right.
chance that I'm not going to stop, and then I will die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went
If you
to,
if you'd like to know more, I can tell you.
right?
You got an hour?
Yeah. I went to a concert with my husband and I went to a concert with one of the guys and his wife that I had on my podcast. And so many people, he's a big guy, so he just stands out, and they would come up to him and be like, "Hey, do you want a beer?" And he'd be like, "No, I'd be in jail." But so many people just came up to him randomly and asked him if he wanted a beer. And,
Yeah.
it's like, well, why would you be in jail? Do you got all night? I
Yeah.
mean, there's a reason we don't drink. Don't
Yeah.
I don't know.
You don't have to ask why.
Is there anything else that you would like to tell the community to
Oh,
inspire them or let them know?
I mean, your body will give you signs. Your body and your conscience, most of all, will tell you if something's wrong. You need to listen. The first time you're like, maybe I shouldn't, then you shouldn't. If your body says, maybe not this time, don't do it. Don't be like, whatever, I got this. Because you don't. At that point, you losing control. It's got you. It's sunk its claws in, and you're going to go for that ride, and it's not going to be pretty. You'll lose friends, you'll lose loved ones, you'll lose family, jobs. I don't know how I didn't get a DUI at any point. That's a miracle in and of itself. Uh, I managed to keep my driver's license clean, but still just series of of stubbornness, neglect. Oh, just piles on. It's so easy to just one little move, and the next thing you know, you've lost control. You're off the rails, and it is so hard to put that bottle down or that glass down and say, you know what, this is it. It's I mean, it's that last drink. If it's going to be really the last one, that's a tough pill. Like, your body is not going to like it. Your brain, the chemicals in your brain have changed. Uh, your physiology has changed to where that is a dependency of your body. Your body now needs that to function. And to cut it off like that it's tough. So listen early, you know, talk to anybody. Just somebody who will listen, somebody who won't judge you, Because that's the other thing. I didn't want to talk about it because then I was the problem. Nobody wants to be the problem.
Yeah.
You know, we want to. I'm a grown man. I, I know what I'm doing, but I wasn't in control. I was just I was doing whatever that bourbon told me to do. I was going for that ride. I was going to go until I died.
Which a
I
lot of
was
people
never
do.
going to stop. So listen to your heart, brain, and your body. If you don't listen, then no one else can help you. Self-awareness is key, and acknowledging that there is an issue is key. Because I could have easily come right out of the hospital, and the moment I could drive again, I could have gone to that store, bought a bottle, put it on my credit card, just try to hide it again, and I could have started.
Yeah.
You know, but that those months and months of sitting there with nothing to think about but how I failed and how I let everybody down, I was able to build up a big enough wall around that urge
Yeah.
to where I could sit back, just go, take a breath. You don't need a drink. You need to take a breath. You need to meditate a little bit. You know, I pray for my doctors. I pray for my family. I I, I ask God to guide those surgeons' hands to, you know, to heal me to whatever extent is possible. Um, so that's been my message and my journey is listen. Your body will tell you it 100%. I believe that all the way. Just your body is going to say enough is enough, but it's up to us to listen. You know, if my wife had come to me and said and screamed in my face, "You have to stop drinking," I would not have. I wouldn't. If anybody had done that, I would have drank more.
Right.
You know, I'll show you.
Tell me what to do.
Yeah, get out of here with that.
Yeah. I don't got a problem.
I'll show.
It's
Yeah,
you. You have a problem.
yeah. Why are you bothering me with this? I'm fine.
Right.
The biggest lie we tell ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Everything's fine.
Yep.
Don't lie to yourself. Don't lie. Because it's so easy to do that. And
It
then
is.
that's the danger, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I
Mm.
really, really appreciate you coming on here and sharing your story. I know I love being able to be someone like interview you for the first time to the world. That's
Yeah,
kind of
no,
a
this is the
scary
first. I
thought, huh?
appreciate it.
To the world.
Surprise,
um,
everybody.
surprise. So yeah, I'm so thankful that you were able to share your story and share stories like this need to be told more. I think the more awareness that there
Awareness is
is.
so big. There's not enough. Not There's too much shame around it,
Yeah.
especially with men, I think, who are too scared, too embarrassed, in denial about their problems or what they went through. I, I I watch a bunch of your podcasts and I see, vast majority of women willing to like you said, with therapy, you
Yeah.
know, it's usually the women that step forward and are willing to take that step towards healing. Men are much more resistant to it. It's just the way we're wired. So I encourage, if any men are out there are watching this, I know, I understand. I tried my damnedest and it almost killed me. So uh, talk to somebody, talk to your doctor, talk to a friend, talk to don't talk to your bartender.
To not.
Just talk. Say it out loud to yourself. Say it. I have a problem. I can't drink. But put it out there. Say it. You'll be amazed at how freeing it can be to just say it out loud in a room and let it echo around a little bit. And it's real.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's real.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, I again thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Megan.
And if people want to reach out to you, they can comment in the comments. And
Yes, reach out. I'll keep an eye on it. I don't have an Instagram. I think I have an account, but I've never used it.
It's
But
fine. It's
I'm
better for
working
your
on
mental.
I'm
It's
working
better
on
for your
that.
mental health not having.
Probably better. Most I have is like Facebook, and I share what I can on there without getting banned. Some of the pictures from my surgeries and other things will get me in trouble, but
Censored.
I've shared stuff as much as I can. I'm open to anything. So if anybody wants to find me, my name's Andrew Perino. I'm out there. You can find me. So
Awesome. Well, thank you for that.
But thank you very much, Megan. I appreciate what you do, and appreciate your show and your purpose. I think it's very, very, very brave, and I can't support it enough. I think it's fantastic.
Well,
So,
I love you showing your support by joining and sharing your story.
I've been wanting to do it for a few weeks, and I finally manned up and wrote that email. So I'm glad I did, and I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.